Well, hello there. It's Beards and Bangers. And we have a few people in it, would seem, in this live stream. Let's see who we've got, shall we? Oh, well, what a pleasant surprise. We have Norman Oswald Butler in the live stream. Well. Who'd have thought it? Norman has gotten to grips with modern technology. We've got Minds in 99. Good evening, sir. How are you? Jimmy Quinn is here. Good evening. How are you? Norman's already got his crumpets out, which is, I guess, to be expected. Simone from Hooked on Classics is here. Good evening, Simone. How are you? Darren Ball is here. Good evening, Darren Ball. How are you, sir? And good evening to everyone. Well, this is lovely. I'm still on quite a high. And Ricky Lumsden, who I've not seen before on here, but it's wonderful to have you here, Ricky. Do say more than hello. Tell us where you're from and what you do, and well, not obviously all your intimate details because that's private. But yeah, that's very nice to have you here, Ricky. Simone was going to ask if Norman had a Mrs. Norman Butler. We shall let Norman answer that himself. Ujudge is here. Julie is here. Bonsoir, Julie. Darren is not too bad. Not sure how long I'll be on. TF incoming. This is the kind of story I like. Ross is here. Dinosaur Dad. Good morning, Rob, and all. T deployed. I should think so too, because it's jolly early where you are. Jimmy Quinn asked, is this Boaty stream? No, it's my stream. I'm streaming live as we speak. Hello, my lovelies. It's wonderful that you're here. That'd be more Boaty stream, wouldn't it? So, and if Norman Butler were ever to do a live stream, which may or may not happen, but that's down to Simon to tell us about Norman. Although Norman's his own person. I mean, Norman is very much his own person, as we can tell. Yes, and everyone's saying hello to one another. I'm still on a high because I had a really enjoyable drive back from South Wales in my new project, which is my Rover Streetwise. Yeah, because it's from Cornwall, isn't it? My Rover Streetwise 2-litre diesel. I didn't realize. I did know this, but I'd forgotten that Rover Streetwise diesels, or generally any L series powered car, it looks like they're getting hot because the temperature needle is ever so slightly above halfway. But that is how they run, and I'd forgotten that. But it really piques my OCD, something chronic. I want my temperature needle to be bang on halfway or slightly under, because that's more pleasing. I guess that's one of the perils of MG Rover ownership, is when your temperature gauge creeps up, it kind of, this panic kind of sets in. But yeah, the Streetwise is fantastic. I'm going to tell you more about that during this live stream. Let's catch up with the comments, because they are thick and fast, and I thought the only thing that was thick and fast around here was me. Matt TF, so Darren's son Matt TF is currently in Tesco car park with a set of jump leads and an Audi A3 to the rescue. Okay, Darren, if you need to go and do the necessary, then you know these things take precedence over a Beards and Bangers live stream. Jimmy Quinn asserts that Norman Oswald Butler was on TV last night selling bacon. That Norman, he seriously gets around. Norman has responded. Someone's mentioned the gardener because don't mention the gardener in front of Norman because the gardener went off with his missus. It's quite delicate for poor old Norman, and he's a poor old boy. Really, he is. Dinosaur tells Norman Oswald Butler to give him his full name. 2 lumps, but no sugar in the old Tetleys. Darren has done his bit. Just pay for your battery. That's what dads are for, isn't it? Just sit by and just pay for the stuff as it piles up. Norman Oswald Butler. I'll call him Norman because you all know who Norman is. If you don't, then check out the channel. You can check out one of my videos because I had a Norman video on my channel this week. But Norman, the bulk of Norman's content is over on Simon's Project MGTF channel, which is well worth a look and a subscribe and like all his videos and watch all his videos all the way through. Norman says, street pies. Oh, lovely. I have a mince, please. No, Norman, it's a Streetwise. It's a Rover Streetwise. It's a car in its own right. It's based on the Rover 25, but it's a car in its own right, and it's called a Streetwise with a W. Simone has just spent the last few hours making TC the Cortina safer by drilling holes in concrete and big bolts for a garage defender. Oh dear, have you had some bother, Simone? You tell us about it if you wish to. Minds 99 says nice too to see the Streetwise return back to Bucks. Yes. So the week before Pride of Longbridge, someone on here, and it might have been you, Minds 99, pointed out that there was a Rover Streetwise. I set about to find a Rover Streetwise, but I wanted a diesel for some unexplained reason. And this car was advertised, but I was quite busy the week before Pride of Longbridge. And then I thought nothing of it. And then I was outside the gates of Cofton Park in Birmingham. And this lovely young man who's just joined the live stream, incidentally, pulled up in this newly acquired Rover Street. And I was like, I recognise that number plate. It's, familiar because it's quite a distinctive number plate. Penelope, the Rover Streetwise, and Tom had just bought it the day before. We've gone on a road trip to Aylesbury, which is where I'm sitting right now, to collect this car. And then Tom, I think Tom, you're here, and Tom says it was happier in the mountains of South Wales. Alas, not the car for me though. But you've got something nice now, I believe, Tom. But you tell the group, and this is Tom. You're new here, and Tom, welcome. This is wonderful. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to have a coffee on Sunday, but I was knacked because I've been up at 6 on Saturday to go to the MG centenary at Gaybardon, and then I was up again on Sunday at 6 to go to the station to get a train to Neath. So next time I'm in South, and I will be going to South Wales because I like South Wales and have family in South Wales. So I shall make sure that you and I have a coffee date. But do tell us what you sold the Streetwise that I've now got for, because it's a good story. I like these kind of things. Simone says, relating to her garage defender, some whippersnappers lurking around the garage, leaving stuff by the door, made me feel very uneasy. If that car gets targeted, I will devastate. Yeah, is when you've got a car like TC or any of your project cars, and you have these, you go to sleep thinking, oh my God, is someone going to, do something to it? It's horrible. So Simone, fair play to you. Right thing to do. Norman helpfully replies to Simone with some sound sagacious, if we can use that word when talking about Norman Butler, advice. Simone asks, however, is there a Rover Street Unwise? My BRM was Street Unwise a few weeks ago when its rear shock absorbers failed because that was not good on the streets. It hurt my bottom. And Norman chips in with some of his own inimitable, I would say humour, but the thing with Norman, you never know whether he's joking or not. It's very hard to tell whether Norman is joking or is being completely serious. You'll just have to watch more videos about Norman and find out. Tom tells the story of why he sold the Streetwise to someone else. So Tom, just to be clear, Tom did not sell the Streetwise to me. He sold it to someone else. But now the Streetwise is with me. Well, Tom says, I seen a 75, which I fell in love with, and the Streetwise had to go. And then 3 weeks later, I bought another Streetwise to go with my 75. That's extremely beards and bangers, actually. Sell a car, but to buy another car, and then, oh look, there's the same car I had, almost. And buy the one, but I'm thrilled that you've got another Streetwise and you've got a project there because that's great. Because 2024, just for those of you who have been asleep for the last week, may not know that 2024 is the year of the Streetwise. 2023 is the year of the Tourer. 2022 was the year of the MG6. So those of you who think that next year is going to be the year of the MG6, that was 2 years ago, a year ago. You've missed it. Then the Dark Monks, who are based in Kent and Yorkshire, will determine what. I think 2025 is the year of the Waffle Butty, but 2026 has yet to be decided. So they have to look into a mysterious pool, which is something called an oil catch can, and they kind of swirl things around, and then they work out what car is for that year. It's very similar to the way the Chinese work out, which animal it is that year, I believe. And that's factual, gospel. That's the usual stuff you get here from me. Ross is addressing Simone. Just leave the 75 out front. They'll think an old demented man lives there, and hopefully move on. Tom has got a Rover 75. Simon's got a Rover 75. So fair point, Ross. Fair point. Simone thinks that Norman spent way too much time in the paint shop at Longbridge. He certainly spent too much time somewhere. And Simone says that to Ross that the garage is in a block of garages away from the house, so you can't even look at it during the night. Or have a. Can you get a ring? Can you get a ring camera thing put up there, Simone? Because they're quite useful. Tom jumps back in with, well, I think that the engine is slightly knackered. Jump started it earlier, and there was an almighty bang, and it cut out. My dad has a 1.8 turbo lurking in the garage, so that might have to go in. A 1.8 turbo in a Streetwise. You know that 2024 is the year of the Streetwise, Tom. I can just tell. Norman replies to Simone that he never got to. I'll read this out. I might try and do Norman's voice because Norman's got a very. Those of you who know Norman, and I do know Norman, he's got a very distinctive voice. So I shall read this in my own voice. He never got to play in the paint shop, but Sharon. It's the Sharon again. Sharon, who worked there, used to warm my sausage roll up at lunch. Well, thank you, Norman. And Simone is sure of that as well. Ross says it. That's difficult. Send down Norman. He'll bore anyone away, especially the whippersnappers. He did. Yeah, at Gaydon on Saturday. I mean, I don't know. I had this very strange cup of coffee, and it made me go, as you could tell, because my grey hair disappeared and the wrinkles went. I became youthful and started speaking in a street kind of way. And I've never been so chastised in my life. Um, Simone says, "No Rob, no power." You can get a battery operated ring camera thingy. They're welly good. Norman now dispenses some of his sage advice. I know a trick to add extra horsepower to any Rover 75. Well, do tell us more, Norman. And then Norman replies to Ross saying, "Hey there, young man. I'll have you know, my colleagues used to love my stories and insights. They had me talking for hours." Don't dispute that whatsoever. Simone then replies to Norman. Anyway, Penelope. Penelope is the name of my Streetwise. Penelope, of course, is short for Penny, who, as you know, is a fine young lady. Simone thinks that it's Penelope's shitstop, but actually Penny, despite going into a kind of slightly murky few weeks of ownership between Tom and myself, is pretty solid. Penny is well put together, nice and plumped up in the right places. Firm ride. Engine will just go and go all day. And a couple of really nice racks on the roof as well. So I'm genuinely happy. A little bit of bodywork to sort out. There's a little dent in the wing, bit of rust, couple of rust areas to sort out. But when a car's of a certain age, one doesn't expect perfection. So yes, I shall be introducing Penny gradually into the channel, and we'll be doing a little bit of work probably in the autumn because there's nothing pressing. It's disappointing that nothing is pressing between Penny and me. Watch this space. I'm glad I've got her. I'm glad I've got that car. Right, where did we get to in the comments? Tom says that Streetwide isn't a bad little car. Roof is rather rougher. Yeah, the roof. I'm going to get some compound into that roof first, and then I think there's a bit of lack of peel as well. So we'll have to deal with that. But I'm not going to. Why the idea with the Streetwise project, as well as being a massive precursor to the year of the Streetwise, which is 2024, and obviously Tom, you're there. Underscore's not with us at this juncture. Pingu's not with us at this juncture, but these people also understand that the Streetwise is important. I expect to see everyone rushing out and buying Streetwise, and the price is gradually increasing. They are probably the cheaper of the cheaper end of the Rover stable at the moment. I want to do a very budget conscious restoration on Penny, because love isn't about money. Where did we get to? Stephen S. Paul is saying, good evening all, says Stephen S. Paul. Hope all is well over there in the kingdom. GB. Yes, everything is well here. Although I made the mistake of putting shorts on last week for the first time this year, and then today it went chuffing freezing. So basically I've got no bollocks this evening. But that's neither here nor there. Stephen S. Paul, I hope you are well, sir, and I hope that many cars that will tantalize those of us over here in England who have to, look out for scraps have been plentiful for you today, sir. Norman says that Penny has a nice front and back end. Yes, clad in black plastic, which is attractive to anyone. And Norman is right. Yes, Penny can get 4 men inside, or 4 people. Norman, we shouldn't be, you know, gender biased about this. When I'm sensing that, you're assuming. Obviously, you spent a long time in Longbridge in a male-dominated environment. Women can go inside Penny as well. It's fine. Tom says about Penny. So we're dissecting Penny on my table. That it seems to have, or she, Tom, she's now a she. It seems to have about 10 layers of paint in one place. Yeah, the paintwork's interesting. There's sparkly bits, there's flat bits, there's lacquer peely bits. It's what a Rover should look like. Chuffed. Penelope Shirtstop is suddenly here. Yes, and thanks Norman for something he said. Norman is, I think Norman's a bit of a little ferret, really, because he pays little subtle compliments that not everyone gets, but certain individuals get. Norman then says, "How is everyone for engine jam?" Thankfully, I have no engine jam in any of my cars, but of course, if anyone has got engine jam, and by this I think Norman means that it's when a head gasket fails on a car and you get that lovely rich mayonnaise of engine oil and coolant mixed together that's been beaten lovingly like a Michelin starred chef. That's what Norman refers to as engine jam. But then Norman then further peddles his product. He can sort you out if needed. Jam and crumpets are his work at the moment, because Norman is no longer a Rover mechanic or a mechanic of any sort, to be honest. And then Norman further goes on to say that sounds like Penny's paint is factory fresh. If you were on the paint line that day, Norman, then yes, that's probably how the car would have come out, dents and all. Ross says, Rob, very respectable name. Thank you. Rob is a very respectable name, yes. Not like the filth that Boaty chatted about by naming his car Fanny. I need to catch up on Boaty's fannying around, because I've not actually watched any of those videos. Because I've been a busy boy, and I'm busy tomorrow as well. I'll tell you about tomorrow in a minute. Norman would have choked on his custard creams had he heard that chat. I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I think Norman, despite being slightly foxy and slightly sly, flirting with Penelope Shitstop there. I saw that. But I think, Norman's got some, very 1950s principles. He has that vibe. I don't know what it is. Tom says, well, I know a chap selling a 45 diesel saloon if you wanted another one. Ha ha ha. Again, one of my old cars. No, I know everyone jokes that I just keep buying cars, but we now have to stabilize the fleet, because I've got, what have I got now? 6 cars, of which 2 are working. The 190 shat its catalytic converter, and I'm giving you a preview of a video that comes out tomorrow when it was on the dyno rolling road at Tom Force's garage last week. And the cat pooed itself. And I don't mean Louis. Louis did, because if Louis had pooed himself, that would stink. But no, the cat on my car, because it's a cheap aftermarket one, pooed itself. Watch the video tomorrow. I don't know if I get the sparks and the kind of fire coming out the exhaust on camera, but that kind of gives you a flavour of what happened. No more. Although I've got quite a thing for the L series engine, because they are tough little nuggets. I do not want to buy another car at the moment, and I've been good. I've been deleting emails from eBay. I've not been looking at Facebook Marketplace, and I will continue to do that for at least a week. A up Rover Joe, because Rover Joe says, A up Rob. How are you doing, fella? Penelope Shitstop says that she has wood shavings in my engine jam. Tastes lovely. Have you got Norman Butler's number? Because you two, I reckon. And Norman's free. Norman is free because Norman's wife. Sorry, Norman, to bring this up. Norman's wife went run off with a gardener, so Norman is actually footloose. It's a condition he's had since birth. Rover Joe has some news. Rover Joe has sent all his work off for his degree, and he's done it. Rover Joe, everyone say nice things to Rover Joe because that is brilliant. Well done. You must be like a weight off your shoulders, but also a very proud moment. So, Joe, well done, mate. That deserves a coffee next time we meet up, because obviously when we meet up, we're normally driving cars, so we can't have a beer. Never mind. Coffee or tea is good. Well done, Joe. Norman. Flirting continues. Norman says to Penelope Shitstop, "Ooh, sounds very dry. Get your son a cuppa," which I think is Norman being cute. Tom says, half tempted to buy the thing myself. It's a lovely W reg copperleaf. Now, when you say copperleaf, that immediately allures me. Red connoisseur saloon. 3 Rovers can't hurt. No, 3. It's not enough. I mean, I'm up to what, 6 cars now, 7 cars, something like that. So 3. Not even trying, sir. Not even trying. Penelope and Norman continue flirting. I shan't read that out because it's one has a mental image now that one cannot unsee. Norman Butler says, we once played hide and seek at Longbridge, and I wasn't found for weeks. Turns out they went on another strike, and no one told me. Good job Sharon hung around. Yes, otherwise you would not have been looked after, would you, Norman? You'd have been emaciated. Penelope says, oh, don't tell Roger Botti I will get in trouble with Mummy. Thank you, Penelope. Rover J says, I'm over. This is about his university work. I'm over the moon. I'm so bloody glad. Thank you. I'm setting off to France in about 3 hours. So I'm getting all the stuff ready. Well, that sounds smart. What a way to finish your degree by going on un bon vacances à France. Wonderful. Sounds fantastic. Where in France are you going, Rover Joe? Miser99 asks me a question. Have you stopped looking for a Ford Cougar? When you've got a Penny or a Penelope in your life, one doesn't need a Cougar. Seriously though, no, I'm still on the lookout for a yet to be desired Ford. So the Cougar and the Probe are the two Fords that haven't really been kind of appreciated yet, and I like to get in before things are appreciated. But yeah, no, I'm not. Mine's nice. I'm not actively looking for a Ford Cougar or any Cougar, to be perfectly honest. Norman congratulates Joe in the only way that Norman can. People are saying hello and how are you to one another and congratulate Joe, which as they should. Simone has been making her. We know that. Sorry, Simone is replying to Joe. Rover says lots of French car spotting. Can't wait. Oh yes, yes. There'll be some great stuff. And Joe is off to the Dordogne and surrounding areas. That sounds absolutely lovely. And Joe confirms what his degree is. And then Norman, having obviously not paid attention to what I said, asks Joe where in France he's going. But if you read up Norman, if you can indeed read, you will see where Joe is going. Tom says, "Can I interest you in a Ford Probe? Dad has one sitting in his garden." Oh dear, Tom, I wish you wouldn't say things like that. It's an almighty shed. Again, that doesn't put me off. Rover Joe, ooh, Ford Probe. Yeah, it's got to be a 2.5. None of a 2 litre nonsense. Rover Joe confirms where he's going. So Norman, he's going to the Dordogne, which is a nice part of France. And then Norman is smutty towards Tom. And then Norman says, "Oh, lovely about trying the brie, very exotic." So yeah, brie must make Norman's tongue tingle, much like Sharon did, I'm sure. Yeah, you will get a proper cheese board in France. If you get any époisse, then yeah, get some époisse down your neck, because époisse is like le meilleur fromage, in my opinion. Norman asks, I will read this out. Simone asks Norman, "How come we never see any baby poo coloured cars these days?" Allegro shade. I think Simone means tobacco leaf, which is baby poo colour. So Norman, hopefully you can answer that, because clearly you would have been in the paint shop when tobacco leaf was a colour for Rover, which is the 1970s, I think. Yeah. Simone is hungry, might just cook some chicken. Just make sure you pluck it and kill it first. Otherwise, it might jump out of the oven. I'm going to have, while the comments, I've actually caught up with the comments. It's something I'm conscious that I must do, because I don't want to have loads of comments and then people are sitting there waiting. Oh, is my comment getting read out yet? And it's not, because that's just, could delay your evening. You could have important things like cooking chicken, or I don't know, other such things, making crumpets, if you're Norman. That wine is delicious. Yes, and Ross points out to Joe that if he likes it, lots of pate, because pate is lovely, especially French pate. Norman replies to Simone. I shall read this out in case Simone has disappeared. Glad you asked. It's down to the great paint debate of 1982, which I think is actually quite famous. There was a meeting with all the leading car manufacturers at the time. It was voted the best color, and then Norman keeps us hanging. Joe's just off to get some things together. Yeah, make sure you get packed and don't forget anything, son. That's yeah. Penelope Shitstop says, "Babies pooing on cars, how disgusting." I think it was the British Leyland method of the 70s. That's how they got the cars looking that colour. Babies kind of in harnesses pooing on the cars as they came through, and then I think probably someone like Norman lacquering them. Sounds disgusting, but needs must. I mean, Norman will answer better. But so Norman continues. I messed up the colour swatches, so everyone resorted to greys instead. I think grey cars are lovely. Matt of Dickens is here. Good evening, Matt. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday in the Cotswolds. And when Matt and I aren't having a dirty weekend in the Cotswolds, that came out wrong. Matt and I are meeting at a car show in the Cotswolds, just in case anyone was wondering. Hello, all my beardy friends, and hello to you too, Matt. And Ross commends Joe to get himself on the TGV or TGV, which is part of the SNCF. to go for a blast. Yeah, they're quite quick trains, a bit like the ICE in Deutschland. Tom can't remember. It's been parked up. This is about the Ford Probe. Parked up about 10 years. Pretty sure it's a 2 litre though. That's the engine for wusses. Either way, I can't stand the thing. If you can't stand it, then that means that someone else will like it. One man's poisons, another one's meat, as someone never said. Stephen S. Paul says, anyone have a need for a low mileage 95 Honda Del Sol? Now, I'm interested already without reading the rest of your comment, Stephen. In lovely magenta with a grey cloth interior. A one-owner car with only 20,000 miles from new, 5-speed box, original everything, of course. Who was it? So it's Furious imported a car, didn't he, from America? He got the Crown Vic, which turns out to be a rot box. How much does it actually cost to import a car from the USA to England? That might have to be a series in the future because, yeah, I need to calm down a bit with cars, just for a bit, Matt says, no, you won't. No, I won't because you're on holiday and you're not going to the Cotswolds, but I am. I remember now. Norman Butler says, I overheard a young man being told off for having a grey car over the weekend. Yellow is the best colour. Greyish people don't like being seen. I have 2 grey cars, Norman. Samuel Tyrrell is here. Good evening, Samuel. Sam, how are you? I hope you're doing good. Didn't see you yesterday because you are at college this week, which is good. Norman says, oh, I love a good Honda. Not seen one yet, though. Norman. Just try and cheer up, just a little bit. Come on. Tom's dad seems to like it. Every time I visit my parents and see the thing, I feel a little ill. Oh, I don't think a Ford Probe is that bad. I mean, there's worse probes in the world than a Ford Probe. And some of you will know what I mean by that. Simone says that she feels rather sad for Matt. I hope you can get it. Yeah, I do. I mean, fancy going to all that effort, getting a car, particularly a car that you love. I mean, he clearly loves Crown Vics and American, V8 police cruisers. And then you find out that it's got bloody rotten everything. That must be absolutely gutting. I mean, but it's happened to all of us. We've all bought cars, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it hasn't got any sills. The sills are pure filler. Dinosaur asks Norman a question. So if you see at Knob, that's at Norman Oswald Butler. So yeah, Matt Ross isn't being rude. That's just Norman's initials. It means nothing. Yeah, but Norman has set Matt some homework. Penelope likes a good probe. I have heard. Penelope will get a probe inserted in her very soon, because one of the plans with Penelope is to have her gubbins interfered with to make her go better. I shall say no more. Those of you who know will know. Norman is now going about colours again. Yeah. So I did have some topics in mind for tonight. So one of them was the Streetwise. Obviously, the Streetwise you've all seen the video of now. There's another video coming out on Saturday, I think. Sam, you haven't seen the Streetwise yet. You will see the Streetwise soon. Streetwise needs a headlining. And I am going to have license to do what I want with the headlining on that. So we a few weeks ago we debated on here changing the BRM's headlining, which it also needs doing. Of course, it needs doing. It's a Rover from the late 90s. The headlining's sagging like, I don't know, Kerry Katona's Iceland bill. Yeah. So the BRM, I had this crazy notion to do a red leather headlining, but that's been put on a indefinite back burner. So we're going to go standard with the BRM. But Penny is slightly saggy inside. So the headlining is barely hanging on. So I'm thinking, and you can tell me to shut up all the time a knob. I'm thinking a Marvel or Star Wars headlining for Penny, because you've seen Penny. I just think something a bit different would work. The Marvel headlinings, I think, I've seen one in a ZS and I really liked it. So I'm thinking some kind of, I like Marvel, I like Star Wars. You know, goes with the kind of the car geekery as well. So do tell me what you think. Tom says get some SDI injectors for it. Yes. That along with talking to its little computer thingy, Tom, is on the cards. Stephen S. Paul comes back about the Honda. The boss wants $4,500 for it, which I think in with the current exchange rate, $4,500 US is about £4,500. So it's never been a better time to buy a car from America. There are lots of parts the original owner has gathered up over the years. The owner actually ordered the car new, all paperwork from new, not bad at all, really. This is why I love these live streams. You get Stephen S. Paul over there on the other side of the pond, and one of our American cousins, and he just paints these wonderful. Stephen paints these pictures of these cars, and I just see them in my mind's eye. And I'm not saying that other parts of this aren't my favorite things, but that is one of my favorite things about these live streams is Stephen S. Paul giving me mental images of these cars sitting out in a desert, unrusted, and just being handed in as scrap. Yeah. Whereas in the UK, you'd have like 10 YouTubers going, "Get me that car." Norman has interjected again. Did anyone hear the news? The Russians have launched a probe into space. Sputnik, it's called. Yeah, I heard that in school in a history class, Norman. Yep, so you're right. Tom says accurately about Penny's headlining, and it's held on by hopes and dreams. Yeah. And Simone backs this up by saying, poor saggy Penny. It happens. You have to do your headlining floor exercises regularly. Then these things don't happen. Or just use some better adhesive. Norman says, when you've been as well used inside as Penny, you'd be saggy. Can't argue with that, really. Penelope Shitstop says, saggy, how dare you? Oh, wait a second, never mind. Yeah, we're not talking about you, Penelope Shitstop. So Norman says in relation to Penny's headlining, Norman would say, and he is, because that's why he's typed it, keep it standard. Simon would say Star Wars all the way. Speaking of all the way, it could be Star Wars. This is the way. I am researching some headlinings. Simone says to Penelope Shitstop, you are weird. And whilst this is a safe space, one can also be honest as well and truthful. Samuel Tyrrell says a special job for Austin. It'll be a joint Austin and Rob job, this one. The joint bit being I'll be holding a camera That's fair, isn't it? Sam, that's fair, right? Um, Norman witnessed Alfie being sold on Monday. It was a sad time, but a happy time. A sad, happy time. Well, that is as concise as ever from you, Norman. Ross says a huge Death Star for the headlining. That would be quite cool as well. Yeah, I've got ideas, but I'm not quite sure where to go yet. I need to obviously ask Penny what she thinks before making interior design choices, because these things can escalate. It starts off with a Star Wars headlining, ends up with someone taking the cutlery. These things just happen. Stephen says, shame about Matt's Crown Victoria. We have about 300 of them at any given time in the yards at work. Another astonishing fact from Stephen S. Paul. 300 Crown Vics in at any one time. And then some poor bloke from Kent imports one and it falls apart on his driveway. My own current daily is a former Los Angeles fire chief's car. Still has the lights on it. Keep these stories coming, Stephen, because they are. I'm sure everyone agrees. I think these stories are brilliant. So please because they're like a nugget of absolute gold in amongst the absolute bollocks that everyone from the UK writes. But I want you from the UK to keep writing the bollocks, because the bollocks is good and all. And to make everything more somber, not somber, but more, give an air of gravitas, underscore is here. Can I class myself as an astronaut, underscore says, because I parked a Ford in a car park. Yes, I put a probe in a space. Haha. Underscore, we know you're here now. Welcome. And hello to you too. Underscore's nephew's home alone, so I was late because he decided my phone is for phone calls, not watching YouTube. Who makes phone calls on a phone? What a ridiculous notion. Norman has asked underscore a picture. We shall a question. Sorry, we shall let underscore read the question, try and make sense of it, and attempt to answer. I was on about the street pies again. Norman is very confused between Streetwise and street pies. Excuse me one second. I'm just gonna find a tray of things that I shouldn't be putting in my mouth and igniting on YouTube, so they will therefore not put this thing in my mouth and ignite it on YouTube. I shall ignite it off camera, but oh bugger, you've just seen it. And have a couple of. Oh, that's better. Yeah. Oh, where did we get to? Yeah, so Norman is confusing street pies. Obviously, Norman's from somewhere in the north. It's vague where he's from, or his heritage. It's a mystery. I was talking earlier, Matt, about my new Streetwise, which will no doubt meet your Streetwise at some point. But Norman cannot hear the W for some reason. He hears it as street pies. So just to fill you in on that. So bear with Norman. I mean, he's a poor old boy. He really is. But he's quite endearing. Norman's quite endearing, really. Blah 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 blah. Simone asks Stephen S. Paul a very very good question, actually. Are Crown Vics known for rotting? Obviously, the States has a huge array of weather and climate types, rather than the consistent damp shite that we have here. So that's a very good question from Simone to Stephen S. Paul, which I shall read when I get back to that. Where did we go? Oh, that's I'm going to get thrown off YouTube. Um, Norman Butler says Crown Victorias are silly. She can't even sing. She just stand there looking like a skeleton wearing Prada or Georgia Vasda or whatever fancy things. Yeah, I think Norman's getting Ford Crown Victoria, confused with a Princess Victoria Beckham, which is a different kind of Crown Victoria. Yeah, but Norman is right about that Victoria, but wrong about the other Victoria. Boaty ate the halibut. Is that why he's ill, Matt? I need to send him a message actually. Norman Butler asks, "What's YouTube?" Norman, you're on YouTube now. This is YouTube. Matt says, "Meat pies in a Streetwise is a great name for a feature. A rip-off of comedians in cars getting coffee, perhaps." Should we get James Corden to present it? No, actually, no, because he's a cock. But yeah, I quite like that meat pie, and we. So you've got a Streetwise. I've got a Streetwise now. I've got a Streetwise now. I'm pretty sure Pingu's got a Streetwise, unless he sold it. Tom's got a Streetwise, which he's fixing up. Obviously, Tom, you've got to fix your Streetwise before the end of the year because next year is the year of the Streetwise. Matt is like the overlord of that because he already had a Streetwise. So we've got 4 potentials. Who else has got a Streetwise? We need more Streetwise people in this forum, I think. But Matt's very says Penny looks very clean. Rob, Penny is anything but clean. Oh, sorry, no, Penelope, the Streetwise is she's got a couple of creases. One which I was expecting, one which I wasn't. Couple of bits of lacquer peel. The roof needs tea cutting with vigor, shall we say? But yeah, light project. Not going to spend too much. Absolutely not going to spend too much, apart from maybe a little remap. Yeah, thank you, Matt. Norman helpfully tells Matt that pies are God's answer to hunger. Thank you, Norman, for that. Stephen S. Paul says, "It's not my car. The boss always gives me an old shit to tool around in. It's going on 270,000 miles on it. I always take it through the car wash. I might buy it. Why not?" Ross suggests by saying, "Surely," and I don't mean to call you Shirley, Ross. Sorry, that's a really bad. That's a Leslie Nielsen rip-off joke. I deliberately did that. It's not my joke. It's an airplane, whatever it was called. Surely Norman is from Grimsby. I can't place Norman's accent. I mean, he's certainly a northern gentleman, but from where we don't know. Maybe he'll tell us one day. Norman, where are you from? Simone says Norman lives in the middle of nowhere, just up the road from somewhere. That's pretty much how he'd say it. Exactly. Norman wonders how Simone got his address. That's probably what's on his letters. Love to know what the postcode is, though, as well. That'd be really good. Matt perhaps correctly assumes that no wonder Rover headlining SAG, Norman sniffed all the glue. He's been sniffing something. Norman says, "Oh my days, I saw in the shop the other day that you can buy soup for cups. I'm shocked, but also very excited." I think, Norman, you should. I know times are tough, but I think you should go to the shop and treat yourself to a cup o soup. I think you'd be amazed. And it's a frugal, but some might say nutritious meal. Go and knock yourself out, Norman. That's my advice. Answer is beautiful colour and more oomph under the bonnet than 140. Yeah, the L. I was obviously doing some research, and the Rover L series engine is quite something because it only puts out about 98 brake horsepower, so it's by modern standards quite weedy on the surface, but its torque, it's got something like 340 newton meters or pound foot of torque. So Penny pulls like an absolute train. Stephen says Crown Victorias rarely rust in the rockers. Matt simply got scammed. These cars rust like any other car. The Ohio climate combined with the fact the town it came from was near the coast. Okay, so salty air. I'm guessing Ohio's a bit damper than where you are. And underscore says to Norman that he's nomadic. That could be he's from all over Yorkshire. Who knows? But then Norman answers, I'm from your mum's house, as the kids would say, I think. Blimey. A mum joke from Norman. Stephen S. Paul says, made the car simply rust just a bit quicker despite the car's relatively young age. So going back to the climate where that car was. Norman has a question for us all, though. What's the best of the 4 TV channels available these days? Well, that's a good question from Norman. Thank you, Norman, for that question. We shall let people answer that. So, what is the best of the 4 TV channels available these days? Brilliant. George Roger Botti is in the house. Good evening, George Roger Botti. From his mum's house, what? That means you're a working girl in mummy's words. What? Thank you for that insightful information, Sir George. Have you been knighted yet, Sir George? I don't know. You should have been, really, for services to something. Ross says that he thought the Crown Vic came from Cuba. Remember the Top Gear episode, shampoo as brake fluid, etc. I'm sure they probably have got a few Crown. They've got every other American car going back 70 years in Cuba. So, yeah. And George Rosbotti chips in by saying that Mummy likes watching BBC, eh? Thank you, Sir George. That's very good of you. Yeah, so what else has been happening? So tomorrow, I'm off doing some filming tomorrow, so that's going to be nice. I shan't say what because that will spoil the surprise. The weekend, obviously, part of it was going to get the Streetwise on Sunday. Saturday was spending some time at Gaydon with Simon from Project MGTF, Simon's dad, Alan, and also Norman was there. How Norman got there, I have no idea. He just turned up. But yeah, very, very pleasant weekend. Monday, I just chilled because I was done in, to be quite honest. Norman then says, I like the That Good Life program. Really gets my A series going. That's good, Norman. I'm glad you're keeping up with modern developments in televisual broadcasting because it's fantastic. And Simone asks if Norman behaved at Gaydon. He was just Norman. He just did Norman stuff. One of those things, he was complimentary at the same time as being insulting. You never know with Norman. You never know. Matt then chips in with something from almost, it feels like nowhere, but it is a thread. Me and you at Silverstone, Rob. Yeah, we will be there. Do I need to book a ticket for that? or is that just turn up on the day? Cotswolds, I know I turn up, but do I know? And this evening I meant to make a calendar of all these car shows coming up. Yeah, so £35 for Silverton. That's okay. That's fine. And then Matt underscore. So we've got Matt Dickens, obviously, number plate. We've got Matt underscore soft drink, generally helpful, thoughtful person. Matt underscore pitches in with, tell me lies about meat pies on the back seat of a Streetwise. Penny would know all about that because it's all about the meat pies. And it could be rock and roll, Norman. You're right. Yes. Matt will PM me the ticket link in a bit. Thank you, Matt. Number plate legend. Matt has been tasked this week with making, because the Streetwise has got space for a smiley number plate. And why wouldn't you have a smiley number plate if you can have one? So Matt, number plate legend Dickens, has been tasked with making some beards and bangers number plates for the Streetwise to replace the ones that are slightly delaminating in a bit. Understudy Matt. No, you're intern. But understudies. I think understudies is slightly better. Understudy's paid. Don't forget, intern is unpaid. Understudy is paid, and Norman said he's going to pay you. So there we are. Imagine being Norman Butler's understudy. Jesus, how do you rehearse for that? Fuck me. Stephen S. Paul returns to the subject of Matt Richardson's Crown Victoria. Matt's Crown Victoria is without question the rustiest, and he puts that in capitals to really emphasize the rustiest nature of it, one he's seen today. Looking at it again, I now realize just how spoiled I am. You are spoiled. You must be spoiled. Norman Butler is going to watch a hill climb on Saturday, and he's never seen a hill move. I mean, hill climb to you must be like quite a new thing, because in your mind, it's probably still quite rare for a car to be able to climb a steep hill and get to the top without some kind of malady happening to it. But yeah, I'm pleased for you, Norman. You're getting out there. Simone asks me, Rob, because that's my name, how far away are you from Tor Point in Cornwall? In August, there's a big classic car show near there. I am about 260 miles from there, but I know Tor Point. It's just over the water from Plymouth. And I probably could do with a couple of days away in the southwest. So I will have a look at that and see if I can find a hotel that's not charging ridiculous sums of money. I could stay in Barbican, actually. I like staying in Barbican in Plymouth. I will look into that. We shall liaise, Simone. Norman Oswald Butler says, unpaid understudy. Being unpaid to study the unders of someone seems rough. Oh, Norman, you're just full of joy sometimes, aren't you? Simone reckons the British winter got to the Crown Vic. Boy, how long has he had it? 2 years? Poor old Crown Vic. Poor old Norman Butler. I don't know. The classic car show in near Tor Point is called the Mount Edgecombe Classic Car, an American show. So there's cars and Americans there. That sounds. What do the Americans do? Do they just they all kind of lined up in rows, and then you have to go and see if you like that American. It sounds good. Joking apart, my goodness, this American's got a big Stetson. He must be from Texas. Yeah, Simone. Seriously, I'll look into that because it'd be nice to have a couple of days down there. I want to go back to South Wales because I owe Tom a coffee, and I like going to Wales because my dad's people are from Wales. Yeah, and I'm not planning on doing a holiday this year. I want to do lots of little trips away, which I'm doing some already. So like staying in shitty B&Bs in Sherbert in Helmet without a cooked breakfast. It's bad. Norman says maybe me and Simon. Oh, Norman, that's very helpful. Thank you. Could split the hotel cost and do a joint. We could do a joint southern tour, couldn't we? We could start off in the south coast and go and harangue. We could actually get Norman to come with us, and we could actually set Norman on Joseph Lloyd, and yeah, shit a shambolic shuffle, because that'd be quite funny. Because I think Joseph's on the south coast, like Southampton-y area, and then we could head west towards Simone and go and do stuff down there, like drink cider and lose power of eyesight and stuff. Yeah, tell Norman, if you're speaking to Simon, tell him that's a really good idea. Thank you, Norman. Very good. Well, Norman, brilliant. Matt _ got the meaning of freelance wrong when I went into business for myself. I'm now unpaid in 2 professions. Yeah, but come on, being understudy to me and Simon when we're doing like joint videos, Project MGTF and me, is me on Simon's shoulders, which is obviously the fair way of doing it because I'm far lighter than Simon. And then you can be understudy. The 2 of us on each other's shoulders is about the same height as you. So that's a pretty good gig. Come on, you've got to admit it. Simone will try and post a link to your Facebook page. Fantastic, thank you. Norman says Royal Cola, that's American. I'm sure it is. Ross says, apart from Stephen S. Paul, no American should be on show. Oof. Harsh, but possibly true. I don't know. Stephen says, though, to be fair, I've traveled all around the US and I keep a lookout for cars in general. And I see all kinds of Crown Victorias in many cities. No, I've never seen one so rusted. Maybe he bought them with the rust deliberately. I don't know. I mean, you probably can do that. Norman says, oh, I'd like a holiday. Last time I went on holiday, me and the missus went to Scarborough and Mrs. Butler stayed out all night with the barman while I did a crossword. Very relaxing. Oh, that's very. It's good that you stayed and did something honest and noble like a crossword, Norman. Simone thinks she got her words mixed up. LOL. We all do that now and again. It's fine. Well, what other news? What other news have we got this week? Nothing really. It's just the last week or two has been an absolute blur, to be perfectly honest. I've just been so busy collecting cars and doing car shows. It's been fantastic. But yeah, I need to probably have a quiet weekend at some point. Norman says he has an idea he's been keeping under his hat. How about cup holders in cars? Well, Norman, I think you should take that to all the manufacturers. And they're all making these oversized SUV, EV type things now, and suggest they put cup holders in their cars because I think you could be onto something. There's a lot of light hiding under your bushel, Norman. Yeah. Mm. God, Norman's turned into a keyboard warrior this evening. I mean, I didn't even know he was on YouTube till earlier, to be honest. Dinosaur says 10 watching, 3 likes. I've got 13 and 6. So if you haven't already hit the like button, please make sure you do it now before I track you and find where you live and forcibly make you hit the like button. If any of the 13 of you watching haven't said hello, then please do. This is a very safe space. No one takes the piss out of one another here. No one is sarcastic. It's a very safe space. And as I say that, the watch number drops, which is interesting. Maybe people don't think this is a safe space, but it truly is. It truly is. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm off filming. Friday back in work. Saturday I'm going to have a day doing nothing. I'm going to drink tea and eat toast and stuff. And then Sunday I'm off to Cotswolds without Mac Dickens, so that date has been blown out. But he's busy. He's making my number plates, so it's fine. Yeah, and then next week will be some work, and then there's something at the weekend. I can't remember what it is. Another car show. Could be Silverstone. Probably a Silverstone. So yeah, there's a lot of car related stuff going on at the moment, which is good because this is a car related channel. Oh yeah. Matt _ says even Lamborghini are prepared for 2024 because they have released the Sant Agata Streetwise. I need to see me a picture of one of those. Has it got lots of black plastic surrounding it to protect it? I hope it should. Well, it should do. Norman is not liking this nonsense. You've got me here, and that's worth not liking. Oh, Norman, you have been indispensable this evening. I know that's the first time I've said that, but I'm actually quite fond of you, Norman. So, I know you're stubborn and at times difficult, but, without your jam and crumpets, lots of people would starve. Stephen S. Paul says New York still has a sizable fleet of both police and taxi Crown Victorias, as does Boston, which usually gets tougher winters. Still, they hold up pretty well. Kent obviously has a far harsher climate than anywhere in the world. Ross asked me how is the diet and health. Diet is, I've not added sugar, drunk anything sugary. I'm being good, and I'm losing weight. I'm feeling good. I am feeling good, thank you. I've got more energy. I can walk up a hill without wheezing, which is good. Thank you. Yeah, much better. Much better. Norman says toast and jam. Yeah, in here in the south, we have both. Underscore says I've posted it in Boaty's World. I'll see if I can find it. Yes, please do. I'm a little behind on things. And then Simone asks Norman toast and engine jam. And for those of you who don't know, engine jam, or Norman, please tell us what engine jam is in your own inimitable style. I'll have a slurp while Norman clatters away on his keyboard. Well, if he's using a key, I'm assuming he's using a desktop PC rather than a phone or tablet or some such thing. Oh, that's lovely. Matt says that waffle butties already exist, although it's a waffle in a bun. They already coined the name waffle butty. I'm destroyed inside. Does that put 2025 into doubt? Do the dark monks need to convene and maybe think of a different subject for 2025? This is that's news of great import, Matt. It really is. Norman says, I was once made manager of the engine line at Longbridge. I was in charge of making sure the jam was included. Insightful. Thank you, Norman. Simone thinks Norman has a typewriter. He probably has got a typewriter hooked up to a monitor, and that's how he's typing these messages. Um, and Matt believes that may be the case, that the year of the waffle butty, 2024, sorry, 2025, isn't going to happen. And 25 could be a very interesting year for the UK because, of course, we may have a new government. Stephen S. Paul then says, still, I think the whole expanding foam sprayed into the rockers and other holes pretty much doomed the lower half of the car. Yeah, you're basically creating something that has capillarity, well, adding something that has capillarity into box sections that shouldn't have stuff with capillarity, i.e., water sucking properties. So now Norman explains what engine jam is. It's a rover invention that means the K series creates its only delicious jam for your crumpets. All you do is thrash your engine from cold every time. So yeah, you basically F up your engine, get the head gasket to go pop, and then you end up with engine jam. And you can, according to Norman, eat this. Well, it's very potent. Matt says, must admit, the waffle and bacon in a roll called bun, or other term for said item, it looks delicious. With some maple syrup, I'm thinking. I won't be having that, obviously, because I'm not eating that kind of stuff anymore. Norman says, some idiot said 2024 is the year of the MG6. What a fool. I know who this person was. I think they're a couple of years out with their years. I think calling them a fool is a little bit harsh, Norman. We don't do things like this on Beards and Bangers unless someone actually is a blithering idiot. But yeah, no, 2024 is the year of the Streetwise. Let's just nail that down right now. No more arguments. No MG6s will not exist because everyone will buy the 1.8 turbo, rip that engine out, put it in something else, and then the shell will just be left gathering dust somewhere. Matt shall try to. Thank you very much, Matt. That's very gracious for you to try a waffle butty with bacon and maple syrup on my behalf. You have the figure for it. I most certainly have not. Right, I'm going to wrap this live stream up unless anyone has anything of significance to say, because I've got to get up again fairly early tomorrow and go and do some filming. Thank you for your participation. Oh, just quickly, Ross has said that to Norman that 2025 is the year of the Vanden Plas in honor. Project MGTF can make some stickers. Project MGTF could be. Simone jumps forward to 2030. That I think 2026 is going to be the year of the 1930s. If memory serves me correctly, I need to consult with the Dark Months. Yeah, 2030. I don't think they've convened the High Council yet to decide what 2030 is going to be. But if you want it to be, Cortina, now's the time to get in their ear now, basically, Simone. Norman asks he asks a question. Did I tell you about the time I met Sooty? No. Matt hears that Project MDF already has a new sticker in the works. I'm sure he has, because Simon does make some stickers. And I've got some which I need to put on my cars. Yes, Norman confirms that 2026 is the year of the 1930s. So that's going to be an interesting year, because it's a year about a decade. Make of that what you will. Anyway, I'm going to go very soon. Thank you for your participation. It's been a great chat. If you have made comments here and added to this, then thank you. If you've just been watching, thank you also. But next time you're here, please do feel free to ask questions and pitch in. You can say almost anything here. just quickly, some last comments. Norman says it was bath time. There was a clean sweep. Well done, Norman. Matt says he also heard Simon say Norman Butler couldn't strike a match. He can strike her, that Norman. And Simone says in 2030, the Cortina Mark III was 60 years old. That's, you need to speak to the Dark Monk, Simone, and get your point in there, because that's very important. Stephen S. Paul says, "We be well, English people. GB, be well, people of the United States of America." Ross says, "Nice one, Rob. Thank you, Ross. Nice one to you too, Norman and all," which is high praise for Norman. Norman thanks the strange TV sprites. Hope to see you all soon in real life. I'm sure everyone feels the same, Norman. Thank you for your participation. I will see you again next week on a live stream, just making sure there's nothing else clashing with that. There'll be a few videos from me the next few days, so keep an eye out for those. There's Tom Force tuning part 2 tomorrow. There's Rover Streetwise on Saturday, and then there'll be some other cars next week, which will be fantastic. So thank you so much. God bless. Sleep well. Good night. Auf Wiederhören.